Hi guys, Yacca here. So we have a little bit of time to go through some cards, trying to keep up with the reveals as they are progressing from Blizzard. It's kind of difficult at the moment, but let's walk through some warrior cards. There are some. It seems like there's a new archetype being pushed, and that's a little bit interesting. It might be something that works, but we probably need to see a little bit more cards. But let's jump into the review of the cards that we have for Warrior at this point in time. Okay, first up we have a card called Into the Fray, and this is kind of what I'm hinting at, saying there's a new archetype being pushed for Warrior. We've had in the past, we've had this been done before, this Taunt Warrior, and it seems like it's going to, this one at least, has the hand buff effects as well. Some of these are still used today, so they can be rather powerful. You just need to be sure that you consistently can have these taunt minions in hand. And taunt minions are rather passive and not really initiative heavy, but it might be something that works. It's difficult to evaluate at the moment, but it needs a lot more support, the way I see it. So that's from a constructor perspective. This could be something that works if enough support for the archetype is prevalent. Right now, there's no specific Taunt Warrior cards, so there needs to be printed a lot in the Warrior class for something to have specific utilization there. And right now, of course, there's a bunch of taunts that is generally available to all classes in neutral. In arena, this is really a bad card. Situational cards are usually not good in arena, and of course you'll get this set, and there are some taunts. The Ungoro set, which will be part of the first arena rotation, first arena meta, will have a lot of taunts in it, but it's still not a guaranteed card to have a good effect. So a card that sometimes doesn't do anything is not something that you want to draft in arena. Of course, like always, if you get the deck for it and half your cards are taunts, sure, Into the Fray could be a good card, but it is, in my perspective, a really, really bad card in arena, and it's almost a never pick. In constructed, Into the Fray, if there's enough support for the card, then it will be 3 stars, but it needs somewhat more support. I was kind of going back and forth between 2 and 3 stars. And in arena, it's a very, very bad card. Do not ever pick it. It will hurt your deck more than it will benefit you. Okay, the next one for Warrior is an epic card, a 3 mana 3/3 called Bloodsworn Mercenary. The effect Bloodsworn Mercenary has, it's a battle cry where you target a friendly minion, and if it's damaged, then you summon a copy of it. This hurting your own minions and getting enrage effects or card draw or armor or something like that, that's been part of the Warrior arsenal for some time. And I think that the effect is actually rather powerful. One thing that came to mind when I was reviewing the card is that there's a 10 mana combo, which does require some setup. It's a 9 mana combo, where you have Leroy on 5 mana, you have Whirlwind, and then you have Bloodsworn Mercenary. That's 9 mana total, and that will give you a total of 12 charge damage for 9 mana. So it's kind of a finishing move. There's just a significant amount of drawback with that. It could go in maybe some kind of an aggressive warrior deck. That could be a possibility. And towards the late game, just maybe pushing in the last piece, the last bits of damage. It could be a deck which does that, but it still requires you to draw 3 specific cards out of your deck and sit with them in hand. And one of them is a legendary, which is a one-off in 30 cards. Of course, you can have other combos, maybe an 8-mana combo with a Corcoran Elite instead, which is also a charge minions, but that is only 8 damage worth. Also, there's really few charge minions. There's not that many charge minions left in the game right now, and therefore it is a difficult combo to get up and running, at least as a finisher move. Of course, there are other. When you copy a minion on the board, having this effect essentially making more cards than you can start with, having the 3rd or 4th card of a specific one being generated on the board, that is potentially a very good and strong effect. However, it needs some support, the way I see it, in Constructed. There's no specific deck where you are sitting, well, if I could just copy this one minion so I have like 3 or 4, then there's a perfect deck for that right here. There's nothing like that in the game at the moment. Therefore, I do not think it will be that strong, at least not in this point in time, in the Constructed play mode. In Arena, it's a different story altogether. You usually have a lot of damaged minions. Some of them might have rush, some might not, but just the possibility for you to generate another card with a vanilla statted minion, a 3-mana 3/3, that's kind of fine. So if there's nothing on the board, you can still drop this one and not feel too bad about the battle cry not working. But when the battle cry does work, the upside behind that is potentially really great. And therefore, this is actually a very, very good arena card, even though that the card that you are making a copy of, the damaged card, might not have initiative. Just generating that kind of value, and if it is an initiative card, for instance, with rush or charge, then that's just even better, because then you affect the board right away. Or even working with the reborn mechanic, because the ones that we've seen so far, like the Restless Mummy, will be a damaged minion once it's sitting there on the board. So the leftover minions from the reborn mechanic can also benefit from the Bloodsworn Mercenary. It's kind of interesting which cards will support this, but in Arena there will be situations where this is a very good drop on turn 3, and maybe just copying your damaged 2-drop, something like that. So in Arena, a very, very good card. In my perspective, Bloodsworn Mercenary will be 2 stars in Constructed. It will not have enough of an effect with the cards that we've seen so far. It is interesting. It might be very, very good later on if you have some more cards revealed which support the card. But right now, I do not see a specific fit. In Arena, it's a very strong card. I give it 4 stars. If it had just a little bit more stats, it could have just as well been a 5-star card. But with the vanilla stats and a powerful battle cry, I give it 4. Okay, so we actually have one of the legendaries for Warrior coming up, and that is Armagadillo. Armagadillo is a 4/7 taunt beast, so it has the beast tag as well, a huge beast. And this also really pushes the taunt mechanic. It seems like if there's going to be a few more cards which support this, then there might actually be a way that this could actually be something that works for Warrior, or maybe later on in some of the next expansions. It's still working with the hand buff effect, so all taunt minions in your hand gets the +2/+2. The stats is kind of okay. If you want to have uh, the stats distributed differently on taunt minions, you would want them to have higher health stats because then it's a little bit more sturdy whenever people needs to hit into it. And it might even survive a few turns on the board. Therefore, this is something. If the archetype with a taunt warrior works, then this is definitely one you would like to keep or need to put in that. That is a not a build around, but it is an essential card if that is something that's going to be somewhat or very competitive. I still think it does not have enough support. Taunt Warrior has been tried before, and I even think at that point in time, I remember it as there were even more support than what we're seeing right now, and therefore I have my doubts if it's going to be something that is highly competitive, but it's a good card nonetheless. And if you have a set with a lot of taunts, then that is really good. On the arena side, I won't use too much time for it. It's something that you won't see very often in Arena. Legendaries are very rare. There will be some drafts, several drafts where you don't even get offered a Legendary. But if this is offered to you, you just have to consider it as the vanilla stat at 6 mana for 7, because you're not guaranteed to have taunts in your deck. Or in their deck, that's one thing, but even in your hand. Therefore, it's not a good arena card. In Constructed, I'll give Armadillo 3 stars because it's kind of tying into the whole taunt strategy behind the rest of the cards that we've seen so far. If it works, then it's going to be a staple in that deck. If not, then it does not have not enough support at the moment, and it won't be a viable deck. In Arena, it's a bad card. You might want to pick it for curve. It's quite okay that it is somewhat cheap, and that might work out sometimes, but generally it's not a good card in Arena. The last card we have this time around is, I think this is an amazing card. Frightened Flunky. Some people aren't cut out to be super villain material. I think that's such a cool flavor text. With regards to the minion, it's a common 2 mana 2/2 taunt. And it has a battle cry, discover a taunt minion. Okay, generally the 2 mana slot, for it to be a good 2-drop, you would usually want to have it 2 mana, then 2/3 or 3/2. That's kind of, you need one more stat on either the health or the attack. I do think that it is still, if there's going to be a taunt warrior, this is definitely a staple in the deck, because you will on turn 2 present a taunt that will stall out the game, and then you discover another taunt minion that you put in your hand that you might get to hand buff later on. But it's card generation effect, a card generation effect, and you also get to discover it, so you can actually get to choose between 3 cards which one suits the game plan that you want to go for in this specific game. So I actually think if a taunt warrior gets to work in Constructed, this is a staple in the deck. But I've said that with the other cards as well. it needs some more support, but the pieces are coming together and it might be viable, but we need just a little bit more because there's not a lot at the moment in Warrior, and I don't see the taunt minions in neutral, which you can also put in the deck, of course, as something that pushes this game plan uh, to a viable spot right now. In Arena, it is an amazing card. I'm so thrilled about this one. It's almost where I would like to say that if it's almost 5 stars. You will see the star rating in just a moment, but just having a minion, which is okay, it is a little bit poorly statted, but it will challenge the 3/2s. But you also discover a completely new minion where you can fill out any curve gaps that you might have. You might want to go for that specific minion. So it really supports a mid-range curve value kind of perspective in the arena. And I think the new expansion will be slow, or the new arena meta will be slow enough that this is actually going to be a really amazing card in the arena. I give Frightened Flunky 3 stars in Constructed. If the taunt archetype for Warrior gets enough support, then it's a staple in that deck. In Arena, it was just one stat off being a 5-star card the way I see it. If it were a 3/2 or 2/3, then it would have been a 5-star card. It is something that you really, really want to pick, and you will see it a lot, most likely in the arena, because it's a common card. Okay, so that was actually it for the second part of my card review. It was a shorter one. I hope that you're a little bit more satisfied with that. I know the first one was really long. I had a lot of catching up to do there, and I'll try to make some more content on this and do it a little bit more frequently and a little bit shorter. So we'll see you again, see each other again very soon. And if you have any disagreements, just post a comment. It is just my perspective on things. If you do like it, give it a thumbs up. It definitely helps me, and see you in the next video.